And quickly, if we have a look at what's happening in Africa, African countries, still South Africa leading with 12,000 cases, followed closely by Egypt at 11,000 cases. And tonight, the World Health Organization has been asking the African countries to consider whether they are safe as far as controlling COVID-19 is concerned before they would consider lifting some of these restrictions. And the day is tomorrow when the country will be able to know whether they should lift these restrictions and not. Keep talking to us and tell us what your thoughts are. Should we extend, should the president and the country extend this dusk, especially the dusk to dawn curfew, or should it be lifted? At Purity, once again, at Purity_Museo at KBC Channel 1 News. Let's have a look at the highlights.
We have tested 2,100 cases over the last 24 hours. Out of these cases, we have 23 that have tested positive.
23 more coronavirus cases reported in the country in the last 24 hours from 2,100 samples tested. Government conducts a targeted mass testing for the coronavirus in Eastleigh Section 3 and Dandora Phase 4, respectively.
And if we are going to be bold enough to open, the public must agree that we shall change our mindset and behave in a more civilized manner.
And the government to consider reopening of schools across the country only if Kenyans change their mindset towards the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you so much for making time for us tonight. My name is Purity Museo, and Lensa Odingo is our sign language interpreter tonight. The country has recorded 23 positive coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours from 2,100 samples, the highest ever to be tested since Kenya recorded its first case in March. The Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Rashid Aman, said 3 more patients succumbed to the virus in a similar period, raising the death toll to 45. Kenya now has a cumulative of 781 confirmed cases. Kenya's coronavirus cases hit 781 Friday after 23 more patients tested positive.
We have 23 that have tested positive. This brings to 781 the total number of cases that have turned positive.
According to Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman, the 23 were identified from 2,100 samples tested in the last 24 hours.
Over the last 24 hours, we have lost 3 more patients to COVID-19.
11 of the cases are from Nairobi, 5 from Mombasa, 3 from Kajiado, 2 each from Kiambu and Wajir counties. The 11 cases confirmed in the capital were recorded in Embakasi, Kamukunji, Langata and Starehe. All the cases in Mombasa were from Vita, and those in Kiambu recorded in Thika. In Kajiado, 2 truck drivers from Namanga Buddha Point and 1 from Bisil in Kajiado Central Sub-County tested positive. So far, a total of 20 counties out of 47 have been affected. Nairobi now has a total of 410 cases, Mombasa 269, Kajiado 27, Wajir 15, Mandera 14, Migori and Kiambu 10, Kilifi 9, Kitui 4, Kwale, Nakuru and Machakos 3 cases each, Siaya, Bungoma, Busia, Kakamega, Homa Bay and Uasin Gishu 2 cases, with Isiolo and Bomet recording a case each. To date, the government has tested 39,018 people, the CAS warning hoteliers against flouting COVID-19 regulations.
While we are seeing good compliance, of course there are also errant members of our society who continue to flout some of these measures.
While 2 senior Kirinyaga County officials were among 33 people arrested by police for violating government's guidelines against the fight against coronavirus disease. The youth were defending Governor Anne Waiguru against allegations of incompetence when the police stormed a hotel in Ngurubani town and arrested them.
Even wedding things which are very key to us. People are not allowed to be more than 15. But here we find we have more than 33 people taking part in a legal gathering. And that's why we have come, and we are taking action that the law has to be followed.
On Saturday, the country will know if the nationwide night curfew will still remain in force. The curfew was extended for a further 21 days on April 25th as part of measures to prevent the spread of coronavirus, which ends on Saturday. And as we wait to know tomorrow whether the curfew will be extended or lifted, tell us what your thoughts are. Noah Tanki, let the curfew be extended. That's what you're saying on Twitter. Let the government impose more strict directives, especially on hotels and restaurants. I also ask the government to be much keen on those sneaking in and out of the capital. Keep talking to us at KBC Channel 1 News and at Purity_Museo. Eastleigh Section 3 and Dandora Phase 4 is the latest areas to undergo targeted mass testing for COVID-19 disease. The exercise, which kicked off Friday in a rather slow pace, however, was characterized by low turnout, which has been attributed to the unwillingness by citizens and poor mobilization. The government seeks to reduce the risk of community infection amid reports that many people are asymptomatic.
Thompson Waigwa and Megan J are some of the residents here at Biafra in Eastleigh's Section 3 area who turned up for the government's coronavirus mass testing exercise. On arrival at the center, one is required to wash their hands before proceeding to give their personal details. Then samples are taken.
Kule nje wakati ni kabla sijaingia nimesikia watu wakisema kwamba kipimo kidogo wanakiogopa sana kwa sababu wanasema kile kipimo ni kilevu kuingiza kwenye mapua, lakini sio vile jinsi nilivyofikiria.
Niko nadhani nasikia uchungu, but si uchungu. Kitu too simple, ukifuata venye tu anakuambia si uchungu. Nimepimwa na ngoja tu results.
Some parents were leaving nothing to chance, showing up with their kids. It wasn't an easy affair though, as the young ones could hardly bear the testing process.
We have entirely all stages of the ages, because we have a reasonable number of the young ones, the old, and even the middle age.
However, the turnout in reference to the area's population was notably low.
Ningeomba ya kwamba tuweze kupatia just a small incentive, maybe soda, maybe maji, kwa sababu wakati huu watu ambao tuko nao na watu wengi wa vitongoji duni wanategemea kile wametengeneza.
Eastleigh's senior chief Anthony Njoka attributes the low turnout to an unexplained fear among the residents.
Reception imekuwa 50-50 kwa sababu iko uvumi, watu wanaleta hapa na pale ya kwamba testing iko na uchungu, kwamba testing watu watapatiwa quarantine mara moja, na hiyo ndio hofu moja watu wako nayo.
Poor mobilization and lack of sensitization have also been attributed to the low turnout. Against a target of 1,000, only 227 were tested in Eastleigh Section 3. The situation was not different at Dandora Phase 4, where only 127 against a target of 200 people were tested. With mass testing being one of the biggest measures the government seeks to undertake to flatten the curve of infections, the willingness of the people to turn out for testing remains a challenge, as the number of turnout in the testing centers remains worrying. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
Thank you, Kamche. The government will consider reopening of schools across the country only if Kenyans will change their mindset towards the COVID-19 pandemic. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha attributed the increased spread of the contagious virus to the country to what he termed the Kenyan culture of ignoring simple instructions.
The Ministry of Education has revealed that it's working around the clock to find a solution to how students will adhere to social distancing while in schools and have enough flowing water to heighten hygiene as one of the conditions to reopen schools.
They don't care. They think the disease can't catch them, and if it catches them, it can't harm their relatives. Do you love your relatives? Therefore, the first thing is for us to change our mindset. And if we are going to be bold enough to open, the public must agree that we shall change our mindset and behave in a more civilized manner.
Professor Magoha, who spoke after inspecting development of Ruiru girls and boys schools in Kiambu County, said that the recently constituted COVID-19 Education Committee has already started to evaluate the best approach in reopening of the schools and urged the public to remain calm.
We have put one unionist. Whether I made a mistake or not, there's one unionist who should coordinate all the others. And then let us move where we're going. So the politics of this and that, exclude me from it.
The Education CS at the same time has denied allegations that the ministry has sidelined other stakeholders such as teachers' unions in the formation of the National Committee.
If we are going to reopen, to keep the social distance of 1 meter, and therefore having 6 double-deckers in a cubicle is something that we shall have to reconsider, so that if a child is staying and she's infected, she can't infect the one who is a meter away from her.
Professor Magoha downplayed the World Health Organization projection that the virus could move from pandemic, which is easier to deal with, to an endemic.
Up to now, I do not subscribe to the WHO thought that this is going to move from a pandemic, which is easier to deal with, and become endemic.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
And the World Health Organization is urging African countries to consider their ability to test the coronavirus and trace contacts before lifting lockdowns. WHO says most African countries have started to lift lockdown restrictions, raising fears that coronavirus infections could rise. The continent has so far conducted 1.2 million tests since the start of the epidemic. Countries like Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, has now begun to relax some of its lockdown measures despite having one of the lowest testing rates on the continent. WHO warns that between 150,000 and 190,000 Africans could die from COVID-19.
The major challenge in Nigeria, country of 200 million people, is the limited number of laboratories able to process tests. Nigerian government says it focused on clusters of outbreaks rather than mass testing of the population. The commercial capital, Lagos, and Northern State Kano are the worst hit areas, and these regions do have the most laboratories for processing tests. However, the Nigerian Medical Association has expressed concern that the low rate of testing means the real incidence of the virus remains unknown in the country. South Africa has enforced one of the strict test lockdowns anywhere on the continent and has achieved a relatively high level of testing. The number of tests being carried out, around 16,000 a day, is considerably higher than other African countries, but still a long way short of European levels. Ghana has put a great deal of emphasis on testing and tracing COVID-19, choosing not to implement harsh lockdown measures to protect the economy. President Nana Akufo-Addo has eased Ghana's lockdown measures and emphasized the need to test, track, and trace coronavirus cases instead of keeping people at home. The country, much smaller than its neighbor, has 11 testing centers compared with 24 in Nigeria. Ghana adopted a pool testing approach, which involves combining a group of samples and testing them together. Only if that produces a positive result will individual samples be tested. Using this method, Ghana has one of the highest testing rates on the continent, with just over 5 per thousand of the population, a total of around 160,000 tests. In Germany, the government intends to relax some border controls introduced in March to allow free travel in Europe from mid-next month. Meanwhile, Slovenia becomes the first European country to declare an end to its virus pandemic. Separately, South Australia is officially clear of any known coronavirus cases. The country's health ministry says indoor dining at cafes, restaurants and pubs are now allowed to open, but still with strict distancing rules. In the U.S., the Center for Disease Control and Prevention has issued recommendations to guide, among others, schools, businesses into the next phase of the novel coronavirus pandemic. The guidelines were released after several states in the U.S. began to lift restrictions on their own. Irene Nchuma Udim, Channel 1.
Time for us now to take our first commercial break. We still have plenty more in store for you, including our question tonight, whether the government should lift the dusk to dawn curfew or extend. Keep talking to us, tweet us, and also on Facebook. We also live on YouTube, www.kbc.co.ke, and also we are live on Facebook. We are back shortly.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Tasteless. It has no sugar. I can even smell it milk in it. Halafu this chapati ni unga tu zimeshikanishwa na maji.
Guys. If you don't like my cooking, you don't like my chapati and chai, please return them.
If you want something so bad, the universe brings it to you.
I really wonder what these young girls see in such old men.
Clearly you need spectacles. Well, Mbulek Sapo, I don't talk to Zaka like that.
Can you imagine? The other day, Baby Benito was calling me Bamba. I did not imagine. So I did not respond. Then I heard Dandy.
Wait, what?
Yes, exactly my response. I said what?
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
People who choose to read their Bible daily, they become wiser and they become stronger than the people who don't read their Bibles. So when you choose hard, difficult things, you become a natural leader. He brings us to church to introduce to us another higher level of relationship that is called a faith relationship. You are also a solution to somebody else's problem. You cannot be the only problem all the time.
Join Pastor Jimmy Masharia on The Master's Touch this Sunday from 8 a.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Thank you so much for staying with Channel 1 Weekend. Now to the corridors of justice. The Supreme Court has ruled that the Commission on Revenue Allocation has a central role to play in the Division of Revenue Bill and that its recommendations are to be accorded serious consideration by both the National Assembly and the Senate. In an advisory opinion delivered on Friday by Chief Justice David Maraga, Justices Mohamed Ibrahim, Smokin Wanjala and Njoki Ndungu, the Apex Court ruled that should the two houses adopt a bill envisaged under Article 205 of the Constitution without considering the recommendations of the Commission on Revenue Allocation, the resultant legislation would be unconstitutional. Ben Chumba reports.
The National Assembly has suffered a blow in its efforts to retain absolute mandate over division of revenue after the Apex Court in its advisory opinion said that the principal function of the Commission on Revenue Allocation is to make recommendations concerning the equitable sharing of revenue between the national government and county governments. In a 97-page opinion delivered on notice, the court found that it will be inappropriate to categorize recommendations by the Commission on Revenue Allocation as mere suggestions or proposals. The judges were categorical that where either of the National Assembly and the Senate passes a bill envisaged under Article 205 of the Constitution without considering the recommendations by the Commission on Revenue Allocation, the resultant legislation will be rendered unconstitutional. However, the judges said it is not in doubt that Parliament can indeed deviate from the recommendations of the Commission on Revenue Allocation while debating annual division and allocation of revenue bills as stipulated under Article 218 subsection 2 of the Constitution. Should the National Assembly and the Senate fail to agree on a division of revenue bill triggering an impasse, the court advised that the National Assembly shall authorize the withdrawal of money from the consolidated fund. In the petition, the National Assembly had argued that recommendations by the Commission on Revenue Allocation over division of revenue cannot be binding, claiming that if the recommendations were to be considered as binding, it will render the National Assembly a mere conveyor belt in allocation of resources between the national government and county government. It further submitted that the Senate has no role to play in the deliberations concerning the division of revenue bill. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
Former Senators Johnson Muthama, Boni Halwale and Hassan Omar now claim there is a scheme to deflate the constitution using political parties' patronage. The former lawmakers allege the much-talked coalition agreements are all geared towards amending the constitution for continuity.
The group alleged that the ongoing political realignments are geared towards blocking Deputy President William Ruto from clinching the presidency come 2022.
Baada ya kugundua kwamba Mheshimiwa Naibu wa Rais wa Jamhuri yetu ya Kenya, Mheshimiwa William Samoei Ruto amepata umaarufu sana katika eneo Rais Uhuru Kenyatta anapotoka, na hii imeweza kusababisha mambo haya kuangaliwa vile watasukuma katiba kuibandilisha ili waweze tu kumfungia mtu mmoja anaitwa William Samoei Ruto kusimama na kuchakuliwa na Wakenya ambaye ndiye ana umaarufu zaidi.
They alleged that it was apparent that COVID-19 is no longer a crisis, going by the recent political activities in the country.
So what we've seen lately is a victimization in politics and a crude sense of political machinations that we have never seen in this country in a long time. And when you look at all this, it's not about corruption, it's about power play.
The Jubilee Party this week entered into a post-election coalition with KANU, effectively pushing out perceived party rebels out of Senate leadership.
I've also heard a few of our colleagues saying that their party parliamentary group meeting was in State House and it should not have been in State House. Surely the last time I checked was that the physical address of our party leader is State House. So if you call us in State House, it is in order.
Ni lazima iweke serikali yake imara. Wale watu ambao wanafanyia kazi wawe ni 100% loyal to him, not to anybody else.
Meanwhile, the Maendeleo ya Wanawake organization has supported the move by the Jubilee Party to effect changes to its Senate leadership.
If it is in your belief, Your Excellency, as you did the march with the Chairman Gideon Moi, we want to say that it could be our saving grace as a country. Maybe the Lord is directing you, giving you wisdom to bring peace, because this is the party of our founding fathers.
The organization said the changes should serve as a lesson to those leaders undermining the presidency. Chairperson of the organization, Rehab Muyo, said the presidency is a symbol of unity and all those entrusted with leadership must obey the one in command.
To city affairs, Nairobi Metropolitan Services has begun construction of roads and improving the drainage system in Mukuru, Kwaruben, Nairobi County. Speaking after inspecting the project, which is worth 300 million shillings, the Director General of Nairobi Metropolis, Mohamed Abdallah, says the move is part of government's efforts to rehabilitate informal settlements in Nairobi County.
Residents living in the informal settlement of Mukuru Kwaruben here in Nairobi County will soon breathe a sigh of relief after Nairobi Metropolitan Services, in conjunction with the national government, began construction of the road, which has been in sorry state. Speaking after inspecting the ongoing construction, Director General of the NMS, Mohamed Abdallah, and Project Officer Engineer Michael Ocheng says the construction of the project, worth 300 million shillings, will help deal with the impassable roads and improve the poor drainage system.
We are going to rehabilitate all the informal sectors, that is the Mukurus, Kibra, Korokocho, Madhares and others, so that we uplift the standards of all the residents of Nairobi.
The program to ensure that access to the people living in this area is made so that ambulances, so that fire engines, so that ways of accessing other services, including their workplace, is made decent.
The officers defending the ongoing demolitions of the houses in the area are saying the exercise was on voluntarily basis by the area residents who heeded to the call and pave way for the construction of the infrastructure.
Because we did not want to look like the ones who are bringing down any building. So we engaged the local leadership from the MPs to the MCAs and the local community leaders who talked to the owners of the buildings because there was already a special planning area plan that was set from here, and the local leaders participated in that planning.
In cooperation with the community, the total length of the roadworks will be about 50 kilometers, and they are going to have footpaths, they are going to have cycle paths, and in the other corridors, they are also going to have spaces for services like water pipelines and sewer pipelines to pass.
Residents led by their MCA Evans Otiso lauded the move, saying they have faced myriad of challenges due to the sorry state of the road and poor drainage system in the area.
Kwanza kabisa nashukuru His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta alituasua NIMS itatufanyia kazi, na kwa ukweli tumeona ma-engineers wamekuja in full force na wananchi wamefurahia sana. On behalf ya wananchi wangu kwa mkuru kwa Ruben, tunashukuru sana the workforce ile imekuja hapa through engineer Ochieng, General Badi, na wananchi wote wetu wote hapa. Vijana wamepata kazi. Vile mnaona vijana wetu ndio wanafanya kazi ya clean up ya barabara. Hakuna mtu mwingine ametoka nje.
Tunafurahia sana kwa hii maendeleo yenye tumeletewa. Juu tukiwa na barabara huku utafurahia sana. Jumaji pia tumeona maji inaendelea, barabara inaendelea. Tunaweza sema tu ni asante kwa national government na county government. Tunasema ni asante sana kwa MCA wetu juu ametusaidia kwa ground kila saa kila siku.
And the alleged rampant vandalism of the power system, the area catching the attention of the Nairobi new sheriff.
And one of the things we are doing is to try and see how we can put back supply, but in a way whereby it is not easy to tap and have illegal supply.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnosu.
Elsewhere, water supply from Sasumwa Dam to Nairobi is expected to resume next week, according to Water and Sanitation Cabinet Secretary Cicely Kariuki. Contractors are already at the site repairing transmission pipelines that were damaged by the landslide in Karemenu River at the Aberdare Ranges. The dam accounts for 11.6% of the water supply to Nairobi. Residents in parts of the capital city are currently experiencing water shortage worsened by great turbidity and muddy water from Ngedu Dam, which supplies about 80% of water to Nairobi. Meanwhile, the Minister of Water and Sanitation has set aside 400 million shillings for construction of a major sewerage distribution system in Olkalo town in Nyandarua County that is expected to serve more than 30,000 people.
Repair, and it will take a few more days, but it is good to note even then, with the 20% of water not reaching Nairobi from that system, has a big impact. Hence my call for responsible use of water. But my joy today is recognizing that we have secured 400 million shillings to be able to do a major sewerage distribution system in Okalau town, which is going to cater for upwards of 30,000 people within this expanding city.
In other news, residents of Kina Township in Isiolo County have decried increased cases of extrajudicial killings allegedly perpetrated by the Kenya Wildlife Service wardens. They claim the officers killed a young adult suspected to have been involved in poaching. Details of this and other stories in our county news roundup.
Irate residents of Kina Township in Isiolo County claimed Kenya Wildlife Service wardens on patrol in Garbatula sub-county shot dead a man on suspicion of being a poacher. They claim the officers have a trend of taking the law into their hands instead of allowing for justice to take its course.
Tumelilia serikali inapendelea KWS wanyama vile MCA amesema si 90% ya ardhi ni kutoka Isiolo. 90% ya wanyama ni kutoka Isiolo, hata saa ya bana iko ndani hapa inalea pamoja na mifugo yetu.
In Turkana, fishermen are seeking to be exempted from the dusk to dawn curfew. They say a huge percentage of natural fishing takes place at night, and the current restriction on movement is threatening their livelihood. They further say business is low and they are not sure when the situation will improve.
Kama anasema msifue usiku, atusaidie cha kukula pamoja na familia yetu. Mimi ninaposimama hivi nina watoto 8, nina watoto 9 na mse na mimi watu 10.
Elsewhere, street urchins in Kisii Town have received foodstuff and face masks donations from Lions Club. Kisii County Charter, led by President Sarah Omache, also sensitized the street children and families on the safety protocols put in place by the government to contain the spread of COVID-19. In Nairobi, the Pride Inn group of hotels has donated foodstuffs to staff and vulnerable families to help them cope with economic effects of the coronavirus pandemic. According to the regional manager, Jackton Amutala, the hotel expects to reopen on the 2nd of next month.
Most of our suppliers are locally based. They are really hit hard because we are close, because they rely on us buying from them things. So we are thinking that when we open, we will get back to business with them. However, we also look at the tourism sector. We will concentrate mostly on local business.
And a section of religious leaders in Museo County are appealing to the government to partially open churches and mosques and allow few people to congregate, as is happening for hotels and restaurants.
Kama ni msikiti ambao una capacity ya waumini 500, tuko tayari kuruhusu waumini 50 ndani ya hapo.
Finally, former Mogotio Member of Parliament Joseph Korir has been sworn in as the new Baringo County Public Service Board Chairman. Korir, who took oath of office alongside 6 other board members, pledged to rid the board of graft and instill integrity for better service delivery to residents. Baringo County has been listed by the Auditor General as one of the counties with the highest wage bill. Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1.
And that report by Irene Muchuma Odim takes us to our second break. Let me have a look at some of your views. Alex Mutinda tuned in from Machakos County. And then David Omwami is saying, I think it should be extended. Our health is more important. Hopefully the current or correct decision will be made, but also missing my normal life. Right. From Kayole, I'm watching DJ Jim, and then watching from Kapsoit, Pablo, Askofu, watching Channel 1 Weekend. And then there's someone else who had a view. Let the curfew be extended. Noah Tanki, you're saying on Twitter, let the government impose more strict directives, especially on hotels and restaurants. I also ask the government to be much more keen on those sneaking in and out of the capital. Honorable Silas Njura, you're saying lockdown should continue in the hotspots areas like Mombasa and Nairobi with mass testing. Citizens need to continue with their life situations. Today, at least numbers tested increased. All right. Then Harrington Jenga from Emahondo, Kakamega, the lockdown and curfew should end. We are tired of staying at home without food. Keep your views and feedback coming. I'll also be having a look at what you're saying on our Facebook page. Time for us to take our second breather. Don't go too far. Business and sports still coming up.
Top on Channel 1. Yeyote aliye na kinga hafifu mwilini yuko katika hatari ya kuambukizwa. Pata habari kuhusu COVID-19 kupitia vyanzo vinavyoaminika. Piga 719 au bonyeza *719#. On the next episode of Behind Closed Doors.
What? Did Corolla say that?
Yes. It's just like I'm telling you. She said Gonzalo was to blame for everything that was happening to her.
Dear Lord. So that is true? What? Get out of my house. You two don't know me, and you don't know what I'm capable of. Get out of here.
Do it. And I swear your fiancé will know the entire truth.
You're such a... I swear I'll...
What? What? Let go of me.
And welcome back. It's now time for business news. The world is deploying the high use of technology in a bid to control and stop the spread of the deadly coronavirus from using sophisticated contact tracing algorithms to the use of thermal imaging camera to identify people with high temperature levels. Nothing is being left to chance. Kenya, with 781 COVID-19 cases, is also tapping the use of thermal imaging cameras to surveil people's body temperatures as a tactic to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus, as O'Brien Kimani explains.
In the year 2014, the government tapped the use of surveillance cameras to arrest the spiraling cases of crime, as well as control traffic flow in major towns in the country. According to the Kenya Police Service, this solution helped to achieve a 47% drop in crime in Nairobi in its first year from 2014 to 2015. The success in the use of CCTV cameras in the security sector has led other sectors like health to tap the technology to deal with emerging pandemics.
This solution is able to pick the temperature, capture the facial appearance of the person, and give you the temperature of the person. And this one is able, it's number one, it's safe, it's secure, and number two, it is able to keep distance. Number three, it saves costs.
Chinese technology giant Hikvision is the pioneer in using temperature detecting cameras to deal with coronavirus, where it deployed the technology widely in China early this year as the country grappled with the pandemic. According to Peter Ngari, technical director at Secure Digital Limited, thermal cameras can pick out sick people in a crowd by finding those who have elevated temperatures using both thermal and optic technology.
The IP network solution, it can be able to pick 30 people at the same time. 30 people at the same time, and you can be able to see each and every person's temperature. But because of social distancing, you are able to pass without stopping as it captures your facial appearance, and you can be able to get the temperature.
Fever is a symptom of COVID-19, the disease caused by the coronavirus. So far, the technology is being pioneered at Nairobi West Hospital, where Medical Director Andrew Kanyi says it has reduced contact between personnel and visitors.
We have actually fully automated the process of temperature recording. You have noticed as you exit from the tunnel, as you go through the tunnel, you are sanitized. As you exit the tunnel, there is a camera that captures your temperature, and it only takes less than 5 seconds. Sometimes you even don't notice that your temperature has been recorded.
Apart from the hospitals, the system has proven to be efficient in areas with large populations like factories, markets and streets, among other areas, according to Dilano Kilu, who works with the Protective and Safety Association of Kenya.
Over 700,000 private security guards that are frontline workers at the forefront of this pandemic. Wherever you go across the country today, in any county, you will find a private security guard there. In fact, in many institutions today, these are the people who are taking your temperature and insisting that you sanitize. So we are stakeholders, and as essential service providers, it is our responsibility to make sure that the institutions, the residences, and the properties that we protect are also safe from this pandemic.
But how effective is the technology, and are there chances of cyber criminals infiltrating the system?
Extremely efficient. In fact, we have noticed that we are able to pick almost 99% of those people with fever. It hardly ever misses. We do know, with all due respect, that the handheld thermometer may malfunction, but the computer-controlled temperature recording instrument is highly efficient.
It takes 1 second for a thermal camera to detect temperature of each person, reducing congestion and the risk of infection from physical contact. Apart from Kenya, Ngari says the technology has been widely used in the United States, South Africa and Europe in a bid to arrest the spread of the coronavirus, with positive results.
Thank you so much, O'Brien Kimani. In the tourism sector, the government is deliberating on offering tax deferment and credit facilities to institutions in the tourism and hospitality sector as part of recovery strategy. Tourism Principal Secretary Safina Sungu told a tourism webinar that the tourism industry needs immediate capital injection to minimize job losses.
The tourism industry has borne the brunt of the coronavirus pandemic that saw tourist arrivals dwindle, worsened by travel restrictions imposed by countries to contain the spread of the virus. The tourism industry, which contributes about 9% to the country's GDP and directly employs about 1.1 million people, has witnessed massive layoffs, with hotels cutting back their workforce as revenue streams dry up. To cushion the tourism and hospitality sector, the government is discussing whether to offer tax deferments as well as credit facilities in a bid to reduce further job losses.
The current interventions, both by government and non-government actors, have been to see how we can lessen the burden on credit. We can increase cash flows to individuals and businesses, protect jobs, provide welfare schemes for those who are most vulnerable.
With the travel restrictions in key traditional tourist source markets, coupled with reduced aviation activities that have negatively impacted on arrivals, hoteliers are being encouraged to tap domestic tourism to minimize losses.
We are going to see more of this going forward until the world finally finds itself, settles with the reality of COVID-19.
The tourism industry has presented a proposal to the National Treasury proposing visa fees waivers for tourists to boost arrivals after the coronavirus restrictions are eased.
And artists will need to prove that they have been in the industry for at least from January 2019 to benefit from government's 100 million shillings stimulus package to the creative industry. Permanent Presidential Music Commissioner Dr. Dono Otoyo says that the stimulus targets to reach over 6,000 musicians, some of whom will have produced relevant and impactful content.
Since the announcement of the 100 million shillings to cushion artists from the impact of COVID-19 on 6th of April, players in the sector have disagreed about the criteria of identifying beneficiaries of the fund. Now, the Permanent Presidential Music Commission has come out to state the parameters artists have to meet to benefit from the fund. PPMC Director Dr. Daniel Otoyo said artists will have to prove that they have been in the industry since the start of 2019. Dr. Otoyo says the program is aimed at ensuring artists build their content and their talent, while at the same time being mentored by veterans in the sector. PPMC says the program will benefit over 6,000 artists, including DJs, live band performers, recording artists, and even cultural dancers whose livelihoods have been affected by travel and movement restrictions, as well as closure of entertainment sports in efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19. Dr. Otoyo says the content need not exclusively be on the COVID-19. In a tweet he posted, "Your song does not have to talk about the coronavirus pandemic for you to benefit from the Together at Home program." He said the call for registration for the program will be rolled out from Monday next week through Permanent Presidential Music Commission platforms. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
Internationally, the head of the World Trade Organization has said he will step down a year earlier than planned at a crucial moment for the global economy. Roberto Azevedo's surprise departure comes as the WTO faces the impact of the coronavirus pandemic and criticism from U.S. President Donald Trump. Here are the details of this and other stories in our International Business Roundup.
The Trump administration has repeatedly accused the global trade watchdog of having strayed from its purpose to liberalize and protect markets, and that conditions around China's entry into the organization in 2001 has led to millions of American job losses. Asked about Azevedo's exit, Trump, who had previously said the U.S. would leave the organization if it didn't change, said he was okay with it. Roberto Azevedo says his early departure as the World Trade Organization's Director General was a personal decision that was in the best interest of the organization. Azevedo's departure comes at an especially difficult time for the World Trade Organization, with global trade expected to slump to historic lows as measures to slow the spread of COVID-19 shut down economic activity around the world. Elsewhere, the United Nations expects the global economy to shrink by 3.2% in 2020 due to the impact of the COVID-19 epidemic. The UN has released the mid-year report of world economic situation and prospects, which estimates that from 2020 to 2021, the cumulative loss of global economic output will reach $8.5 trillion, almost erasing the total growth in the past 4 years. The report points out that although the rate of new infections and deaths slowed down in recent weeks, the future development of the epidemic as well as its economic and social impact remains uncertain. Finally, an Ethiopian aviation engineer is using his hobby to provide medical practitioners across the country some much-needed free medical equipment. Farouk Mubarak is an aircraft technician who loves to print things from his 3D printer during his spare time. Mubarak says despite his wish to do so more, he can only do so much as it takes him time to 3D print the equipment. He said his next plan is to buy another printer that can produce medical swabs. However, in the long term, he hopes that he can be able to influence other people to adopt the 3D technology in addition to other technologies and take Ethiopia to a higher level of manufacturing. Fiona Shuru for Channel 1 Business News.
And the dusk to dawn curfew was extended on the 25th of April for another 21 days. That is up to the 16th of May tomorrow, should this restriction be lifted or extended. At KBC Channel 1 News and at Purity_Museo, keep talking to us and telling us your views. Stephen Musiemi tuned in as usual from Machakos Matu. Yata, my views, restrictions should still hold. We are still in danger. Coronavirus is no joke. If the government should even adopt new measures to curb the spread, it might hasten the process. Mutinda Senior County lockdown should continue to curb the spread of COVID-19. And then Harrington Janga from Emahondo, Kakamega, the curfew should end. We are tired of staying without money. And then Sosi, you are saying you're watching Channel 1 News. Stephen Okwiri, the dusk to dawn curfew exercise should be extended and people continue to stay at home. This will reduce the spread of COVID-19 and the children have much time with their parents and parents so to their kids. Your opinion and feedback, I'll continue sampling them right here before the tail end of the broadcast. Time for us to take another short break. On your return, Sports News will be up next.
It's just fantasy. Caught in a landslide.